Hey guys, Chris Bishop here. Wanted to give you your sales tip for this week. Been getting a lot of conversation and questions around, finding the company logo, ordering signs and business cards, finding out the referral information, looking for the forms for disbursement, and just anything signature that you can think of. Well, we created an answer to that. mysignaturerealestate.net. Again, mysignaturerealestate.net has the answers to all of your questions. If you check out that site, you will get easy links to all of our company information, all the logos, anything that you can think of in every different JPEG or PDF or whatever way you want it. But everything's there. We provide it to you in an easy format so that you can get to it just one click, mysignaturerealestate.net. Guys, super excited also about the opening of our Green Valley office and the upcoming opening of our Sunset office. Look forward to seeing you guys either on Zoom, at our virtual office meetings, or any way you need help or support. All the managers are here for you, and please don't hesitate to reach out. Hope you have a great rest of your week and talk to you next week. Thanks.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. Shelly, Panzarella, and I am here with, everybody recognizes Tony Asquith. This is my first time seeing him post-COVID because the offices are now open. And I'd like to introduce our special guest, who is Harry Schmals. He's the one that always comes in and gives us all of the appraisal update. He is the owner of Benchmark Appraisals. He's been a appraiser for us on our panel, I want to say for over 20 years, although we were just talking, you have owned your company for 15 years?
At least 15.
At least 15 years. So
probably 20.
He and I are going at it to find out who's been in the business longer. But anyway, so one of the great things we want to do is bring in Harry, as always, to answer some of our questions, because there's been a lot of questions out there. And I'm going to start off with our wingman here, Mr. Tony Asquith. Do you want to start off with a great question for Harry?
I guess with all the turmoil that's taking place right now, Harry, I don't know if turmoil is the right word, but
let's try to be just a little bit more positive.
turmoil can be a good thing at times.
Chaos.
But
changes.
Do you or anyone of your colleagues in the appraisal community foresee significant changes in values moving forward from where we've been in the recent past?
Right now the indicators are no, but it's all about what happens, in the future. If people continue to panic and, they start selling their homes cheaply and, just want to bail out, then we'll have a problem. But as long as everybody stands firm, we'll be fine.
Would you see that? You don't necessarily see any particular price range being affected more than any other?
No, I've noticed a slowdown, but no price changes.
Okay.
Slowdown in sales?
Yeah, slowdown in sales. Say, if we break it down like 250 or less, I don't see any change there other than, there's not as many sales. And then from there out, it's been stable as well.
So you're not seeing anything change on, I know for appraisals we have the increasing, stable, and decreasing markers or trends on there.
Right.
Are you seeing anything change on that today?
No, the trend is still real stable, and it's actually been that way for almost a year now. I mean, there's some pockets that go up and down, but overall it's been pretty stable for a year, and I haven't seen any trends declining yet.
Yeah, good. And I know we talked a little bit about what it was like for us in 2000, coming out of 2008, and watching that happen, because I remember having phone calls saying, you marked this box as declining. Is it like what's happening to the market? Do you, what would that look like for us to get into a declining market?
Well, the agents will see, people will start panic selling or whatever, but back in 07 and 08, it was like somebody flipped the switch. I mean, overnight it just dropped, and so I don't see that, because once the economy gets coming again, there's nothing really fundamentally that's changed other than the COVID. So if we can get past that, I think we'll be fine.
And I'd heard a rumor, I guess that would be, maybe you can help dispel this rumor, that some of the other states are actually appraising based on a projected value, maybe a few months down the road, what they would anticipate an appraisal to look like. Is that?
Yeah, that's unacceptable appraisal practice is what we call it in the profession. You can't forecast. I mean, you could if that was your assignment, but on a typical assignment like for a loan or a refinance, it's today's value, the day we see it. So forecasting, I can't believe anybody's doing that.
Yeah, it's called forecasting. That would be the best way to project that. Well, and so determining value today, what are you looking at? So
just the same as always. It's the freshest comps and everything. Whatever's most similar.
Yeah. So if you have a home in a subdivision that has, let's say, 20 similar comps, right? Some of these builders build the same model. How do you go to say these 3 or these 4 are going to be the best comps for this home?
Well, it all starts with the inspection, and depending, like if it's a brand new build, we're going to use brand new houses. But barring that, if it's an older development, we're going to go and look for upgrades or whatever, and then we're out of those 20 comps, we're going to select the most similar. Say if it's got a new kitchen, we're going to look for stuff with new kitchens. Similar, anything that's similar, that's what we're looking for. And any kind of distressed sale, we're going to throw out. So we'll just whittle it down until we get, what we believe is the best 3 or 4 sales. And then we'll also complement that with listings as well.
Oh, pendings. What about properties that are actually, or what would be the difference with properties that are being sold with some seller contributions? Because I'm seeing that come across more often now that there's more seller contributions. How does that affect value?
Well, it's the same. If it's a typical transaction in the neighborhood, say it's like in the lower end houses, 250 is pretty prevalent. So we wouldn't ding for that. But if it's in the upper level, I've seen some of the builders now are offering $40,000, and so we have to take that into consideration. And the other thing is the loan program. FHA, you have to take off no matter what demographic it's in. You have to take off for the concessions.
So meaning if you value a home at say $300 and the concessions are $5,000, you'd really value it at $295?
As a comp, it would be a $295 sale.
Oh,
it's a cash. We call it a cash equivalent. If they're selling it for $300 and they're giving $5 back to the buyer, it's a $295 cash equivalent.
Got it.
And that's what FHA deals with.
So
the strange thing about FHA to me, they'll let you pay all the commissions, not commissions, but the concessions that you want.
Yeah.
On the sales side, but if you use it for a comp, you have to deduct it. So that's never made sense to me.
So that's different for conventional?
Conventional, it's not required. A lot of times, if there's, say if we have 4 comps and only one of them has concessions, it would be considered atypical, so we'd probably make adjustments on that. But usually the market's pretty, when it's stable, it all evens out.
Because you're going to find homes that had probably seller contributions and...
One thing I have seen recently is people paying over list price but adding the points on. So like it's a $200,000 list, and then they'll make an offer for $2,500 with $5,000 in concessions. Yeah. And that's a red flag to most everyone. Especially if it's been on the market. Well, say it's been on the market for 2-3 months, which is a long time, and it used to be. We'll see what happens next, but if it's been on the market a long time and all of a sudden somebody comes and pays more than the list price with concessions, then like the underwriters will flag that and the appraiser will see that.
Wow, I've never really, I am seeing prices adjusted to take into account some seller contributions. Are you seeing that happen where they're making offers a little bit higher just to absorb some of, so that the net to the seller is ultimately the same?
No, I get it. I've sold houses myself that way.
Yeah.
And luckily it's come in. But if it's really tight, like if all the things in the neighborhood are selling for $200, there's not much of a chance to get it up to $205.
But that's going to be based on comps in
Exactly.
general, right? Like,
yeah, there may be a comp that sold for $210 or whatever, and then you'll be good.
So what about in reverse? Because I've had this, I actually had a conversation this afternoon right before our meeting, and one of our agents had said, we had thought this home was going to appraise $10,000 more, but they just basically hit the target, which is the sales price. And so everybody feels, or she feels like we only, if we hadn't put the sales, the contract in there with an actual sales price, you, or not you specifically, but the appraiser would have appraised over that amount, not giving them the exact number that we needed it to come in to at all, you know what I mean, just at the sales price. So can you speak a little bit to that? I mean, does that, because I would say 70% of the time we see values come in right at price, if they're not,
Right.
you know,
Well,
rarely over.
Yeah, well, part of our deal with the feds is we have to see the contracts. And so it's kind of like showing somebody a picture of an elephant and then telling them not to think about it, right? So you've already got that number in your mind to begin with. And so, not that it's a target number, but it's like you look at it and say, well, you know, this was properly marketed, and you know, so many days on the market, and then we have this offer. So the market has really spoken, right? So I mean, but again, it's what the comps tell you. Like, I've come in higher than the sales price lots of times because that's what the comps are saying.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like especially like on a quick sale, something's been on the market 3 or 4 days. You know, a lot of times it's under market. So.
Do you see days on market as being like incentives, not the right word, but
An indicator?
yes, for a higher valuation or a stronger valuation for the price?
We'll say like in your market area, the average is say 20 days, and you've got one that's sold in 1 day. You know, that's an indicator that's probably one of the cheapest things on the market or the most attractive things, and vice versa. If the average marketing time is 20 days and it's been on the market 100, it's probably overpriced.
Ah, okay, that's good. Got any, Tony? Back to you, Tony.
One of the concerns that I've heard expressed from both agents and even friends of mine on a personal level is their concern for, how best can I put it, properties in the neighbourhood where it's ended up as a foreclosure. The people, especially given the economic situation that we're in, basically they couldn't afford the payments.
Sure.
Weren't in a position where they could renegotiate the loan, so the property went into foreclosure. Do you see that having much of an impact on values moving forward?
Well, only if it's isolated, like say in any given neighborhood, if there's say just one foreclosure, any appraiser's going to ignore that because it was such a stress. But if it becomes a pattern where there's multiple foreclosures, then yeah, that's going to start to hurt.
Would you start to see like the declining trend in that area?
Yeah.
How do you value a foreclosure as opposed to short sale as opposed to traditional? Do they weigh differently on valuation at all, or?
When I work strictly for Fannie Mae on foreclosures, it's all about the condition of the property and what they can. They're just looking for what they can sell it for after they take the property back. And most of the time, it's pretty few and far between nowadays. But you know, 10 years ago, that's all we were doing.
Yeah.
But some of them would be completely trashed, and some of them would be ready just to sell. You know, with no upgrades or cleanup or anything. So it's everything's a little different.
Yeah, based on condition. Because even back then, we probably had limited traditional sales. It was probably 90%.
Oh yeah,
foreclosures.
Right. Yeah.
And the condition of the property. And speaking to condition, so I know that there's like the C1 to C5 condition rating.
6.
Or 6.
Yeah,
Can you tell us?
6 is unlivable, basically.
Unlivable?
Yeah.
Okay, so meaning that you can't even.
Yeah.
You'd appraise it, but it'd be something that needs to be completely renovated.
Yeah, yeah, it would be like basically a shack, you know.
And how do you value that if there's?
I've never come across one yet.
Yeah,
so I've never crossed that bridge yet. But say condition 1, like C1, would be brand new construction,
Okay.
and then a C2 would probably be somewhere between 2 and 5 years. You know, it doesn't need any updating, and then 3 is in a really good condition. 4 would be average, and 5 would be something that needs some significant repairs. And then again, 6
And then
is
6 is.
something that's got a red tag on it that you can't go into or something.
Got it. And I've seen a few that have had some of those repairs that are being needed, where I feel like there's a difference between FHA and conventional requirements of what repairs are required, right?
There is, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
FHA has their own set of standards, and probably the one that everyone will remember is the seismic straps on water heaters. They're the ones that started that. And that was a nationwide thing. Not that we have a whole bunch of earthquakes here, although we just did the other day.
That's right.
So, but that was a nationwide prerogative, and so everybody that had an FHA loan had to have those straps. And then there's others. It's all about health and safety with those guys. Like we were just talking about the garage door before this, has to be self-closing, and they're looking for things like deteriorated paint. Just all that kind of stuff. And the difference on a conventional is we would just count that under condition. I mean, like instead of a C3, we'd call it a C4 because it needs a little sprucing up,
Okay.
right? But on an FHA, we'd call it a C3 because we're gonna require that stuff to be done. So it's gonna be in better condition at the time of sale.
So you would have it subject to the repairs of whatever the
Yeah.
conditions would be.
There's a whole bunch of different things it could be, like light switches that don't work, or
Yeah.
plumbing or electrical or whatever.
Well, I see a lot of the paint. I feel like
Yeah, in
the
older houses
are going to
especially.
have and even against like the patios that are being built, even on the floor, like if it's just chipping paint, those are being required to get.
Yeah,
to get
they have a blurb in their requirements that they can't be any bare wood. And again, that's a nationwide thing. Like if we live somewhere that was really humid, you'd be mold prone and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But here in the West, it's not. But again, we have to go with the national guidelines.
When I thought that seismic straps was actually a county.
Well, it's a building code thing.
Now.
Yeah, but it's fairly recent, last probably 10 years or so.
So both conventional and FHA require it now?
Some lenders require it and some don't. When I do a conventional, I just report if it is or not, and then the underwriter makes the call.
Got it, if it's on there or not. And then on conventionals, I see a lot of the cost to cure. Can you explain what that is?
Yeah, that's like, again, when we're doing the conditions, like say it needs paint or whatever, we'll estimate what the paint will cost, painting.
Because you would just put it into like Dun & Edwards and it pulls out like, this is the amount for the paint.
Well, yeah, there's different avenues you can go. Like there's Marshall & Swift you can go to. There's a bunch of cost guidelines, but a lot of it's just estimated from doing it for years. But FHA requires that you estimate the cost to cure whatever you're calling for. If it's a garage door or whatever, you have to estimate what the cost will be.
But I've not seen. Can you actually get it to be an as-is with a cost to cure for FHA? Because I've only seen that on conventional where...
No, if there's something that needs to be cured for FHA, it has to be repaired.
Okay, yeah. But conventional, you're fine you basically reduce the valuation on it?
Yeah, it would just be, like I say, like it would be the condition, what we report the condition as, like instead of a 3, if it needed work and paint or whatever, it would be a condition 4.
Got it.
And the same thing also applies to quality. There's a rating for quality of construction as well, from 1 to 5.
So new construction being the highest?
Now, new construction can be a quality 4. It's just like a quality 1 would be like your $1 million properties, and then
okay.
Quality down from there.
Got it. Do you have a...
Yeah, I guess
Back to you, Tony.
just going back to that comparison, conventional, obviously we're generalizing in the market now, but I see this or hear this a lot, especially from agents. Well, the place doesn't have appliances, will it pass a specific appraisal test?
Right.
And I know that it does tend to vary from loan type to loan type. Do you come across that a lot, and how is the treatment different?
So don't come across it a lot, but how it's treated conventionally, again, we would just deduct, say, if it was missing appliances, that would be a deduction from all the comparable sales of, say, just around number like $2,000 for a appliance package. So that would be deducted from the costs. Now FHA, they require it a kitchen to be workable, so it would be required to have at least a stove and a hood.
I use a hot plate in my kitchen would that not be acceptable for a stove in the kitchen?
No. It has to be permanent.
You don't use it at all.
Oh, okay, I have a microwave. Does that count?
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Perfect.
So if you have built-ins in an FHA, you do have to have Like built-ins meaning a space for a dishwasher,
Right, yeah.
the built-in microwave and refrigerator. Does that mean it has to actually have those?
Refrigerator, no, that's considered personal property, but it has to have a working, minimum has to have a working stove.
Well,
Stove. Okay. What about the dishwasher if it's built?
A dishwasher, and that literally varies from year to year. Like one year they'll say it's essential, and the next year they'll say it's I'm searching for the word. Non-essential, I guess, will work, but it's like a luxury item is what they call it.
A dishwasher?
Yeah.
It's essential in my house today with COVID, post-COVID.
There's your dishwasher.
You're right. She stands in for a lot. Sorry, Tony, did you have another question?
no, I think that covers the bases on most of it. I think the biggest issue with me, speaking out to industry professionals or even fellow homeowners, friends, and what have you, is the fear about values. And let's face it, values will dictate a lot of buyers and even current owners' buying decisions.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, the attitudes of the public, it drives everything. If they're scared,
Yeah.
They're going to act that way.
Should they be?
I don't think so.
Good answer.
What I mean, you were here you were appraising homes in 2008 and
Oh
9.
yeah, all the way, all that whole big
Yeah, all
run
the
up.
year. And so,
Yeah.
what do you see to be the difference between then and now?
The biggest difference is, personally, I believe, like when we ran up to 07, the prices were super inflated. Like just my house alone, it was worth probably 4 times what I paid for it just 5 years, and I knew that wasn't sustainable. And I would talk to agents and they'd say, "Oh, it's the best thing. We're catching up with California." But I'd say, "This isn't California." And so that was the biggest thing. It was like it was a balloon that just burst. Basically, was what happened. And here, the run up has been really modest, and so we weren't overvalued when this started. So I don't anticipate a big drop.
Yeah.
I think we'll have a slowdown, but I don't.
I tend to agree. I've got a feeling that our economy will rebound much quicker than some of the economies.
No, I certainly hope so.
We can just get back to work, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We're working.
You're working, Tony?
Yes.
Oh, good. This
As
is
you
work. I do have a couple last questions. So,
Sure.
One of the options we had with COVID is to do exterior appraisals as opposed to our interior appraisals. If you felt it was, something that you didn't want to move forward with, have you done any? Have you not done an appraisal, an interior appraisal, because of safety or health concerns
No.
for yourself, or?
No, I haven't. When we set appointments, my secretary always asks the homeowner if they would like me to wear a mask or gloves or whatever, and I'm happy to accommodate that, but 95% of the people don't care. And we'll have them open the doors for us, whatever they feel, we just do whatever makes them feel comfortable.
Okay.
And then as far as the exterior, I've had a few assignments for exterior only, and I don't like doing those because you have no idea what's inside.
Well, can you take the picture from the owners, from the inside, to show you what the cool?
There's been one lender that has sent me photos that the owner had taken, just to give me an idea, and that works as well.
Can you actually add that to your appraisal?
Well, I don't add the pictures, but it gives me an idea of what I'm looking at, so then I can comp it better.
Oh, for options and everything. Got it. Yeah, we haven't requested a ton of exterior, so I know in certain areas that it was a complete shelter down or no, a complete lockdown, that's really what the intent was for, the benefit for the exterior appraisals was for.
Right.
So you didn't have to go in there. So as far as your precautions today, really hasn't, I mean, obviously you're super careful with making sure, you weren't, not that we had all our face masks or any of that stuff, but precautions today as opposed to pre-COVID, you're not doing anything major or different today
Not
when
really.
it comes to inspections.
Probably wash my hands more, that's about all.
Do you, in the house or outside? Just kidding. I think that was all the questions that we went through. Oh, one question that an appraiser or that an agent asked for was, so they They had a home that was listed, or they put in a contract at $300,000 as an example. It appraised at $250,000.
Well, 50,000 less.
Yes, which we of course submitted for a reconsideration, which that would probably be a great topic to talk a little bit about.
Sure.
But you know, for us as a lender, you know, we just do our job, right? Submit the
Sure.
file in for an appraiser, and appraiser comes back, we still try to reconsider,
Mhm.
and it still came back as, sorry, there's just nothing really to support. But that big of a discrepancy, I mean, for them, they actually were like, I'm just gonna go to a different lender. So it was conventional,
Mhm.
so they could technically go and do their own thing.
Sure.
I've not seen a huge,
Yeah, that is a big, especially on that price range, that's
Yeah.
a big spread.
yeah,
So, you know, I can't speak to the appraisal because I didn't see it, but
Sure.
the best way to combat that is just to provide comps that would support the price. And it sounds like maybe they didn't have any support. If I can imagine when an appraisers don't like to come in short, like they lose sleep when they're, you know.
Really?
Oh,
I have
absolutely.
some appraisers that I think they like, Shelly's deal, I'm gonna make them.
No, seriously. I have a guy that works for me that he literally loses sleep if he can't hit a value.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because we know we're going to get grief, right?
That's excellent.
From everyone.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, you know, not necessarily from the loan officer, but the agents.
Yeah.
You know, because it's a deal. Everybody wants to make the deal.
Yeah. So how would you prepare, what would you say would be the best way to combat or to come back to an appraiser if it is, you know, maybe not 50,000, but even if it is 50,000?
Right. Well, you know, yeah. No matter what the value, what the spread is, you just need to provide, you know, support, and the fresher the better, you know, and maybe look at the report and see if they missed something.
Okay.
You know, I've reviewed reports where they missed the whole pool. They had a picture of the pool and didn't even put it in the report.
Oh,
You know,
wow.
and that made a $20,000 difference.
Adjustment on there?
Yeah.
What about homes that have like recently sold? Because I've had that also where an agent says, well, this home just sold and you didn't use it in the appraisal, but our appraiser may have gone out a couple of days before.
Right. Yeah. It could have been right on the edge, or it
Yeah.
wasn't recorded when he went out or whatever.
So can that be a good basis for a reconsideration if you?
Mm-hmm. As long, the big thing about the reconsideration is the effective date. So everything has to happen before the effective date. Anything that happens after doesn't have a whole lot of weight.
Oh, so if
So like if I appraise a house on the 1st and on the 5th a model match sells for more,
yeah.
it's like the time has passed basically.
So would we have to order a new appraisal
Mhm.
or like a
Yeah, best way to do that is just get another appraisal so you can get an effective
fresh
date.
value? Okay. Very cool. Any questions from the
gallery?
gallery? No? Thank you. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I always appreciate having you come and spend some time.
Oh,
And,
sure.
and you know, I'm like the first one to call you anytime that there's any issues, anything that agents or myself have crazy
Oh, it's all
questions.
good, and you can tell your agents to feel free to call me if they have any questions for
Yeah.
anything. I'm always happy to help.
We'll post his information on the video so that you'll have his direct cell phone and you'll be able to ask him all of the great questions. He also is an owner of List Assist, which is also to help with the evaluation process, and I'll share some of that information with you as well. But hope you've all enjoyed this great sit down with Harry Schmals with Benchmark Appraisals and Tony Asquith with Prosperity Lending, and we hope to see you soon. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Yay.
There we go, and I even figured out the sound this time. So, apologize for the technical difficulties in the beginning. I forgot to turn on the microphone. So anyway, we had a great sales tip with Chris, and we want a special thanks to Shelly and Tony for bringing Harry Schmals on from Benchmark Appraisals. And in case you don't remember or you don't know yet, we have reopened the Green Valley office, and we're excited to restaff the Southwest office starting tomorrow. So if you guys need anything, feel free to reach out, and look forward to connecting with you guys soon. Take care.